Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to math. Today, we're taking a final look at our Unit 2 Addition and Subtraction Study Guide and zooming in to Learning Goal 4. I can estimate sums and differences. Estimate to check that an answer is reasonable and determine whether an estimate or an exact answer is needed. This will also require us to use Learning Goal 5. I can solve real-world word problems and identify the correct operations to complete the problem, a skill we've been working on throughout this unit. So let's get started. Learning goal number 14. Find the estimated sum. Right off the bat, we have two vocabulary words we need to address. Estimated, an about answer that requires rounding in order to solve, and sum, the answer to an addition problem. When I'm asking for an estimated sum, what I'm asking you to do is find the closest, most reasonable about answer. You're actually making your life easier by giving yourself a problem that is easier and quicker to solve, but still gives you a close enough reasonable result. In this case, I'm taking a look at 2,091 plus 1,209. When adding these two values together, I need to decide what place value I want to round to. As long as you pick a reasonable option, round, and solve correctly, you can get this answer correct. Most of us will look at this problem and see that the thousands seems like a very reasonable place to start. So let's try rounding both of these numbers to the 1,000. Make sure that you've watched the third video before attempting this to make sure your rounding skills are solid. 2,091 is either going to be closer to 2,000 or 3,000. And in this case, I'm much closer to 2,000. My next option is either going to be 1,000 or 2,000. And in this case, looking next door, that 2 tells me to round down, which means stay the same. Let it rest. I am closer to 1,000 than I am to 2,000. By adding these together, I find that my answer is 3,000, the estimated sum. Many of my friends like to check their work by solving with the exact answer, and that's fine, to see if your estimating worked. Please make sure you're circling your answer, though, so that I know that you realize the directions are asking you to round first, then solve. If I were to check my work, I would do 9 plus 1 is 10, regroup. 9 tens plus 1 10 is 10 tens, regroup. 100 plus 2 hundreds is 300. 2,000s plus 1,000 is 3,000. And yes, 3,000 is a reasonable estimate for this exact total. If you found 3,000 and you solved it by rounding correctly, you can give yourself a +1. If you opted to round to the hundreds, but you still rounded correctly and solved correctly, you can still give yourself a +1, but you'll need to check your work with an adult to make sure you did it correctly. Number 15, 6,209 milliliters of water and 304 milliliters of orange syrup are mixed to make orange juice. About how much orange juice will there be? A word problem, my favorites. In this case, we read the whole problem first, and I can see that I'm going to be making some orange juice. Now, 6,209 milliliters of water and 304 milliliters of orange syrup are mixed to make the orange juice. And I want to know about how much orange juice there will be. So, there will be blank milliliters of OJ. Let's go ahead and make that orange juice. I'm going to make it with 6,209 milliliters water, H2O, and 304 milliliters of the orange syrup. They're mixed together to make the orange juice, which means the orange juice will be however much these two things are combined. They're not going to suddenly expand or get drunk before I finish making them, so it'll be the total amount, meaning this answer is going to require some addition. 6,209 plus 304. But wait, there was another crucial piece. There will be about. This word about lets me know I don't need an exact answer. I just need to know about how much orange juice there will be. This is asking for me to estimate. Again, you'll need to decide what place values to round to. You could round both to the thousands, but that probably isn't very helpful for this number where I've only got 304. So the hundreds seems like a really good place to start. You could potentially round this one to the thousands and this one to the hundreds, but I like to round them to the same place value, so I have the same level of precision in both options. 6,209. Either 200 or 300, and I'm definitely closer to the 200 end of 6,200. 304? 300 or 400, I'm definitely closer to the 300s. And I am adding, I am combining these, mixing them together to get a total amount. So, 6,209 is about 6,200. 304 is about 300. And together, they're about 6,500 milliliters of orange juice. By writing it in a sentence, I will automatically know that that is the final answer, and it's a great way to check and see if my answer even makes sense. The amount of orange juice I should create should be these two amounts put together. And it's an about question, so it should be a rounded answer. This seems to make a lot of sense, and it's worth +1. Number 16, estimate the difference. Just like when estimating the sum, I'm going to round first, then solve. Only this time I'm looking for the difference, the answer to a subtraction problem. Watch your signs carefully, as that is a common way to lose points and make careless errors when you use the wrong operation. In this case, the thousands again look like a great place to round. So let's get started. 6,093 rounds to 6,000. 4,527 rounds up to 5,000. And I'm going to subtract. The difference is about $1,000. Again, it's fine to check your work with the exact answer, but make sure you're circling and showing me how you rounded first to solve, not just solving and then rounding the answer. If you rounded reasonably and subtracted correctly, give yourself +1. Number 17, find the sum, then use estimation to check that your answer is reasonable. Just like we used the exact answer to double check our work, estimation is actually a great strategy to check our work when we're solving for real. In this case, it's asking us to do 2 steps. First of all, find the sum. Answer it for real. Plus 6 plus 3 is 9. 110 plus 110 is 2 tens. 500s plus 200s is 700s. My real answer is 729. But I'm not finished. Then use estimation to check that your answer is reasonable. Now it's time to estimate. In this case, the hundreds seem like a pretty great place to start. Make sure you're adding. And yes, 729 seems like a reasonable answer to have gotten. I wasn't accidentally subtracting. I wasn't doing some crazy regrouping. I seem like I'm on the right track. So let's try number 18. Jefferson Elementary School was celebrating their 10-year anniversary with a school carnival. They had 849 flyers printed, and the carnival committee had passed out 552 flyers. How many flyers do they still need to pass out? Solve, estimate to check if your answer is reasonable. So just like in my last question, I'm going to solve it exactly first, then estimate to make sure I'm on the right track. This won't give me an exact check to see if all of my math is correct, but it'll let me know that I wasn't making any too crazy mistakes. However, it's a word problem, so I still need to tackle it like a word problem, and I've already done that first critical step of reading the whole problem. Now it's time to go back and visualize. Get those notes, make sure I have a handle on the problem. I know they want to know how many flyers do they still need to pass out. They still need blank flyers passed out. Let's see how we got there. Jefferson Elementary School. All right, I'm imagining an elementary school. It looks a little more like Wabash to me, but I'm pretending it's Jefferson. Jefferson Elementary School is celebrating their 10-year anniversary. Now, many of my friends will latch on to this number 10 and immediately try and start plugging it into the problem. But really what they're saying is, this is the event. The event is the 10-year anniversary. And they're having a school carnival. So here's my school. Jefferson Elementary School. And they're having a carnival. They even brought in a Ferris wheel. It was a pretty fancy elementary school. And they're printing up flyers. Ah, yeah. 10 years, hooray! Here are my flyers. And they're going to print up 849 of them. That's how many flyers I have. And they're going to pass out 552, meaning we're getting rid of 552. How many more do they still need to pass out? How many are left? This is a subtraction problem. And that 10 is extra information. Just like in the real world, they're not only going to tell you the numbers that are relevant to solving the problem. The world is filled with numbers, and you need to decide which ones are the most important to include. In this case, 849 flyers minus the 552 that already got passed out will tell us how many more are left. And yes, I want to solve for real first. 9 minus 2 is 7. 4 minus 5 isn't something I can do yet. But I can go next door and steal an extra 10 tens for a total of 14 tens. Now I can do this. 14 minus 5 is 9. 7 minus 5 is 2. They still need to pass out 297 flyers. Of course, I'm welcome to check my work with reverse operation. 7, 8, 9. 9 plus 5 is 14. 5, 6, 7, 8. Seems reasonable. Make sure you either circle your answer or write it into your sentence to show me you know that's your answer. But I'm not done yet. There's another way I can check my work to make sure my answer is reasonable. Estimate. As with our estimation pages before, we're going to round first, then solve. In this case, I'm going to round to the hundreds. 849 is very close to that halfway point, but I'm still closer to 800 than I am to 900. 552, on the other hand, is closer to 600. Now you'll notice they don't perfectly line up, and that's okay. The important thing is that I am in the ballpark. I'm looking at around like 200-ish range, not looking at something crazy like 2,000, or accidentally adding them together and finding an astronomically larger number. I should have something less than what I started with. If you wanted to, you could have instead rounded to the tens, and that's fine too. If I'd rounded to the tens, I would have looked in the tens place and rounded to 850. I would have looked at the tens place and rounded to 550, which would have gotten me that 300. In this case, 300 is a lot closer, that 297, and that makes sense. The closer I get to being exactly precise, the closer my answer will be to being exactly precise. But either of these answers would be correct as long as you circle your answer on the bottom. If you have both the exact answer and a reasonable estimate to check with, give yourself +2. And we'll tackle our final problem. Number 19. Mr. Smith went to buy a refrigerator. He had $312. The refrigerator cost $891. About how much more money does Mr. Smith need in order to buy the refrigerator? Now in this one, I don't have any specific directions down here telling me whether to solve or to estimate, but I do know which one is expected. And it's hidden in the problem. About. Mr. Smith needs about blank dollars to buy a fridge. So let's check it out. Mr. Smith went to buy a refrigerator. Now I'm questioning if it's a D or a G. I will go back and check my work later. Mr. Smith went to buy a refrigerator. He had $312. So here comes Mr. Smith with his money, $312. The refrigerator costs $891. Clearly, he does not have enough money to buy this fridge. How much more money does he need? So he has $312, but he wants to get to $891. If I take away the amount he's already got, that will leave me with how much more he needs to get there. So this is a subtraction problem. $891 minus $312. Make sure that we're checking those numbers carefully and not misrepresenting or miswriting them at any point. Now's the final trick, though. It asked about. I don't need to solve exactly how much. I need to round, then solve. And again, the hundreds seem like a pretty reasonable place to get started. So let's try that. Between 800 and 900, definitely closer to 900. Between 300 and 200, definitely closer to 300. I'm sorry, 300 and 400. And I just look next door. 9, go up. 1, stay the same. Matches perfectly with what I understand. 0, 0, 6. Mr. Smith needs about $600 more to buy the fridge. If you want to check it with the exact option, the exact answer, you can, but make sure you've clearly identified that this was all the question was asking you to do. This is just an extra step to make sure our answer was accurate. That's the exact amount he needs, but he only wants to know about. If you solve for an about answer, subtracted numbers that were reasonably rounded and correctly rounded, and put that answer either in a circle with a label or into a sentence, go ahead and give yourself +1. At this time, you can go ahead and add up your numbers for goal number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, on each of those, 6, 7, 8, and give yourself a score out of 8. And with this, you have everything you need in order to be successful on our Unit 2 Addition and Subtraction, Rounding and Estimating unit. If you have any questions, please make sure you come and ask in class or ask a parent for help. Thanks so much and good luck.